Steve, we chatted a little bit the other night. It's been a tough schedule. You play the number one, number two team in the country the last few weeks. There's still some inconsistency where, you'll play really tough one game and then the other game's not so good. How do you look at that? How do you explain that, where you've got one game that's, 10-0, and then the other one you're on the brink of defeating the number one team in the country?
Learning curves, when you look at our roster, it's I think it was 9 out of the 12 forwards that we have dressed are underclassmen. So there's some learning and some experience that's happening with that. That's also the nature of playing in this league sometimes, and unfortunately sometimes games like Friday happen, and you just have to be able to deal with it best you can and learn from it, but park it and then be able to move on and be able to come back the next day, which I thought we did very well. But, when you're playing top teams like that, it's not an easy job to be able to string two games together, you know what I mean? But that's what you want to keep striving towards and figuring out a way to put yourself in those games more often than not. So, I think of its youth and then, learning part of that. But then I also just think it's, again, just the nature of playing in this league, playing against, whereas there's 4 of the top 6 teams in the country in our league right now. So we'll take that challenge in every week, but I think that comes with it as well.
Coach, previous weeks we've just been talking about, getting your team to do the little things right. It certainly seemed like they started to do those little things that you've been talking about right on Saturday. What did you see from your perspective regarding the little things?
A whole lot of commitment and, from on behalf of our players, and to committing to those things, not just be willing to do them. It's one thing to be willing to do something, but it's a whole completely different thing to fully commit to it. And that was our message going into the Saturday game, and the players responded, and they really competed in those areas, and they committed to some of the smaller details, such as, getting in shooting lanes, stick on puck, or, just making quicker plays, getting the puck in behind their D, little things that can add up to, significant moments during the game. So for us, it's just mindset and just a willing to fully commit to it. And so our players did that on Saturday, and unfortunately just fell shy of taking number one team in the country to overtime, but really proud with how our team played. And I believe it's largely due to that in terms of how they approached that Saturday game.
Hey, Coach, a little bit more than halfway done with the season now. I just want to get your thoughts on kind of your assessment of your team so far this season. And now you got a final stretch of about 8 games with a couple of opponents you played really, really well against early in this year. So what are you looking for out of your team the rest of the way?
Going back to Bill's point, that consistency, right? This time of year, you expect to have a lot of pieces to your game, a lot of bricks in place, so to speak, so we expect to have a lot of those pieces. And now it's just fine tuning during this stretch. And, just even rewatching the video from the weekend from specifically Saturday, but just kind of going through that and like, okay, what can we tweak? And they're not big ads that you're doing at this time of year. And it's really that consistency that you want, and really building towards that playoff weekend. So, with these 8 games, they're going to be some really solid opponents, and they're going to be great games. But what you're looking for is that consistency of effort, consistency of commitment, and then obviously performance as well. So that's the biggest thing, and that we'll be talking about with our team leading into this final stretch.
Coach, your team played really well on Saturday. How do you get them to play the same way against Duluth this weekend?
They just need to believe it. They just need to be able to believe that they can play like that no matter who the opponent is, whether it's, Wisconsin, Minnesota, or Duluth this weekend, it doesn't matter, and so just belief in our abilities and what we can do on the ice and what they can ultimately do and as a team going forward. So the belief is there, and that Saturday game really really set a tone, I believe, for this final stretch in terms of a belief in what our players know that they can do and what they can accomplish. So for us, it's going to be setting the tone early here during this week of practice and making sure those details, and they're committing to those details during the week in practice, so it translates to Friday in the game.
Yeah, Coach, a couple parts of your game that seems like we talk about all the time. The goaltending is solid. The numbers are nearly identical for the two goaltenders. No issues there. Your penalty kill is, close to 90%. No issues there. But I think the glaring issue is just, less than 2 goals a game and pretty tough to, beat a top team if you're not scoring more than that. Is there anything you can do to squeeze more offense out of this team?
I think we're building towards that. Obviously special teams, a power play would help big time. That, that's an area when you're looking at offense, especially going down the stretch, where every team's going to be really tightened up defensively, 5-on-5, so you need to be able to take advantage. So that's one area that will definitely help us, and we addressed it quite a bit last week, and it helped us on Saturday, get a power play goal off of that. We've changed some personnel around, just kind of putting them in different spots, switching some hands in some certain situations, and we believe that helped. And last week was the first week of a few of those switches. So that's something that I think we have a pretty good feel of where people where they're best, so we'll continue to be tweaking with that power play, but that'll definitely help us because you hope to be able to get a power play goal or 2 every single weekend, minimum, and so, I think just addressing that area. And then 5-on-5 for us, it just continues to be able to have a little more sustained zone time, and that just begins with our zone entry, and our decision-making and on our zone entries. So, and being able to, how do we get the puck in behind their D, and how do we then contribute to some zone time? So I think, looking for some more zone time and addressing power play, hopefully we can squeeze a few more goals out of every weekend from those 2 areas.
So it'll be about 2 months since the last time you played Duluth. Looking forward to this weekend. What kind of challenges do Duluth bring? It seemed like you guys competed well in some of those periods against Duluth up there about a couple months ago, but it was that one period that kind of got out of hand that allowed the Bulldogs to kind of take it from there. But what do you have to do to be able to eliminate that?
They have speed, they have forwards, they have some crafty forwards that have some speed, and they have a couple defensemen back there that are really high-end players. Ashton Bell is one, and they're power play. So they tend to have a pretty good feel on the power play there. So for us to be successful against Duluth, it's really taking a lot of the things that we learned that we can do well from Saturday. Wisconsin's a very different team than Duluth, in terms of how they play, but Duluth has a lot of skilled players and a lot of speed up front. So it's just a matter of controlling the speed, and it comes down to controlling the neutral zone. Really, I thought we did that very well over the weekend, even on Friday, even though the score doesn't look like we did, but I thought we controlled the neutral zone fairly well in that situation there, and especially on Saturday as well. So against Duluth, that's going to be key, and then our forecheck's going to be key, in terms of being able to put a lot of pressure on their D. So a little bit smaller rink. So our players, sometimes they like shifting to that. So against a team like Duluth, those are a few areas they really have to key in on.
Yeah. Going back to the small rink issue, it seems like against a team like Wisconsin that has tremendous speed, that the size of the rink, the size of your home rink actually worked against you this weekend with all the speed that they have. But going up to Duluth, you probably adjust, and it would seem to me that your team probably is more suited to be a little more competitive on that smaller rink, because towards the end of the game on Saturday, your gap was real tight and played a little more physical, and it really worked to your advantage.
Yeah, we have some size, that helps us for sure. And, the size of the rink against like a team like Wisconsin, expanding on that is that, it gives them more time and space, but also gives us more time and space as well, right? It takes them an extra 5 feet, but even with their speed, so sometimes that helps us in the breakout situations and neutral zone situations. You have a little bit more space to move that puck into. So it does help in some situations as well, but then defensively, it's a little more angle to cover, right? To be able to push that speed. So going into the small sheet, it's a little bit of an adjustment, specifically for breaking the puck out and our neutral zone regroups, the puck possession type of situations for that. And then obviously the small rink helps in terms of, in a lot of forecheck situations, but then also attacking out of the corner offensively. There's a little bit closer every time you take a step towards the net on a little smaller rink. So it only takes a few shifts for players to adjust to it. And, we'll get a good game skate in on Friday and that should help. And obviously the adjustment for the goalies as well is big in terms of what their angles are. So our team, we believe that, we do have that size and that physicality to be able to play on a smaller sheet, and we're building towards being a much better team and on the big sheet, which is good. That's our home ice. So, we believe that our youth they're learning how to play on the big sheet as well. So it'll be a fun test going back up there.
In addition to going back to Amsoil, Coach, potential of having fans in the building this weekend, does that bring any extra energy to your team, whether it's an opposing team's fan or maybe some of your own?
Totally even forgot about that, to be honest. So used to no fans being around, so I totally forgot about it until you mentioned it. So so that'll be fun, even if it's 20 people in there, right? For them to be able to play in front of people again is and not just these cutouts. It'll be fun. So I hadn't even, to be honest, crossed my mind until you just brought it up right now. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm Mackenzie. I'm the guy in the corner that's snapping the photos during the games for Center Ice View. Coming into the league from high school and transitioning to Division I hockey, what are you learning playing teams like Minnesota, which is ranked number 2, and Wisconsin ranked number 1? You're playing the best teams in the country. What are you learning in those games?
Yeah, I'm learning that quicker decisions mean everything for the game, capitalizing on the little things. The little mistakes that the other team's making will ultimately be what will win or lose the game for you. The pace of the game is much faster, and just being able to keep up with them.
Hey, Mackenzie. So final stretch coming for you guys, next 8 games and a couple opponents you guys have played really well in the past. What is your assessment so far of the team up to this point, and after a really hard fought game on Saturday, and what are you hoping for the final stretch?
Yeah, we've come a long way since the beginning of the season. I think what really helps us is being able to get the shots on net and crashing the net. Like Yanina scored on Saturday to start the game off for us by crashing her own shot and putting her rebound in. That started us off, and I'm hoping that we can get more pucks in the net for the final few games, but
Mackenzie, the Friday game, 10-0. I mean, those things happen. They happen to, it happened to Arizona State against Minnesota this weekend twice, 10 goals. So, I mean, those things happen. What did the team tell? What did you tell each other after Friday's game to come back on Saturday and really push Wisconsin to the brink of, actually winning that game on Saturday?
Yeah, we knew that was not how we play. We knew we needed to come out stronger the next game, and I think we really did. We stepped up and showed them who we are and that we can play with them and that they're not any better than us.
Now looking ahead to next weekend against Duluth, it'll be about 2 months since the last time you guys have played them, but what challenges do Duluth present to you guys? And what do you need to hopefully come out of there with a couple of victories?
Yeah, they, like I said earlier, capitalizing on mistakes. Last time we played them, there's 4 minutes in the second period where we kind of made some mistakes and they really capitalized, and ultimately that lost us the game. And we just have to be able to do the same for their mistakes.
You're going from a large rink to a small rink up in Duluth. Do you see any advantage or disadvantage to that this weekend?
Yeah, being able to practice on the big rink really helps us learn how to use the whole ice, and I think that'll be a big advantage for us. Plus, with the bigger rink, we're used to skating up and down in practice every time. So when it comes to the end of the game, if we need to shorten the bench, I think we'll be in good shape for that, and we'll be able to play our best the whole game.
All right, Mackenzie, we did have a couple of questions from the mailbag as well. This weekend, Minnesota-Duluth is one of the few schools that started to have fans as the rollbacks start to come on the pandemic precautions. Do you think that's going to add any extra layer to the game, knowing that there's going to be some people in the stands, whether or not that's St. Cloud State parents or Minnesota-Duluth fans?
Yeah, I think for sure the atmosphere with people actually there instead of just an empty crowd will definitely play a role for both teams. I think we'll be able to perform better knowing that people are actually there watching. I know for myself, like I play to impress, I guess, when more people are there, bigger crowds.
And then one last question. Over the last, I think, 4, 5, 6 games, you've been on that freshman line that St. Cloud State has been using quite a bit with you, Nicole Ness, and Allison Green. What's the chemistry been like between the three of you all in your first year and getting a lot of minutes there on that freshman line that St. Cloud State has used?
Yeah, I think we're really getting an understanding of how each other play, and we're able to read each other. And before we even make the play, we know where each other are. Like Nicole Ness's first goal, it was a tic-tac-toe play, and it worked out really nice. And I think we've gotten a lot of opportunities like that.